Hello? Where did I leave my book? Okay, well, I'll find it. But hello! Hello. Wow. Thank you for asking, Katrin. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. I'm alright. Dude, that book, though, right? I didn't know it was gonna be as, viscerally, violently aggressive as I felt it was. The pacing was incredible. Miss Dancing Alberto. I'm back. We're back. This is our first, okay, for anyone who is a few minutes late, but that's normal. Welcome. If anyone is new, welcome to our first discussion of In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This is the first book of season 4 of Rosende Reads. So, normally we like to jump in with one-word thoughts of the book so far. So guys, so everyone, let's get to it. Wow, that's my one-word thought for the first part, up to the last To See Them Alive, which now, thinking about that title, makes a lot of sense. Wow, that's my one word. That is my one word. Just literally, wow. So heavy. I love that. That's definitely a good word for it. That's you. I could tell by your picture. Can you guys hear me or no? Because I have a very strange setup. I can show you all after. But wow, I agree. Exhilarating, intense. Love that. Stifling. If I were standing, I would have fallen over. I agree. Absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah. Great book. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it. Committed now to see how things end, right? One word, I want to read more. Maddie McCall could not have been more. That's perfect. What? Yes, engaging. Okay, good, everyone can hear me. Yeah, I moved things around, that's probably why. Unsettling is a big one. Unsettling. And I think that's a really good way to describe the sentiment of the town at the end. At the end of that section, at that unsettling fear of, if we can't trust our neighbors, who can we trust? The details! I'm so sorry about them, really. I have no reason. Yeah, catching, heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. This seems to be a theme. Dark. Yes. Well, this is quite a way to start. Annie Hansen! I haven't heard from you in forever. How are you? Tess and I were asking about you. Love the details about the character. Welcome. Heartbreaking. That's my word. Difficult to put down. That's a great way to say it. I love how the Clutter family was introduced. In a way, it was as if we were new members in the town. This is how I felt. I felt like we were new members in the town, and I feel like everyone's town or everyone's local church or whatever community you ascribe to, there's always that one family that everyone knows of because of whatever and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like we were being introduced as if we were new members of this town. And it was, for me, the words I want to use was so delicately described and introduced as if we were being softly gowned in this entrance into this family. But at the same time, we had this fire that was lit with these two other characters, Dick and Perry, that was so contrary, such a contradiction to that feeling, right? I don't know if everyone feels the same way. Annie Hansen, that is all good. I am just happy to hear that you were great. That makes me happy, and I'm very happy to see you here. I mean, they were just living their lives and suddenly ended in such a brutal way. We're talking about Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. We're talking about the first part. It was hard at times. Hey, Triforce of Dragons! I'm sorry, I'm just getting really excited at seeing everyone here again. It's pretty cool. It was hard at times to remember it's a true account. Capote writes so well. And I think that's one of the most striking things. And after reading it, I think we should do a, maybe not group watch together, but we should do a live dedicated to the film, In Cold Blood, or Capote, which is masterfully acted by Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of my favorites, in case you don't know that. He went to NYU. But brilliantly acted. And, yeah, and that movie won him the Academy Award. So I think we should do a watch just because it encompasses a lot of the other aspects of writing that book. And did anyone see? Well, everyone knows. I don't know if you know this. Harper Lee, who wrote Go Set a Watchman and To Kill a Mockingbird, was actually good friends with Truman Capote. So that's why you see that in the beginning of this novel, she was thanked and like mentioned, and also she helped him a lot with this novel. So that's a cool thing for us to know. We're getting melding of minds of authors, which is pretty cool. I agree, the Kender. I felt like I was watching one of those true crime shows. They have this. I find that true crime shows have that encroaching feeling of imminent danger, and that was the although this delicate bathing I talked about, there was that fire underneath that you knew was going to burn it up, and I felt that the entire time. I wrote a great look at it. I had to Google them, Perry and Dick, and found some very interesting things out. I have not done that yet. I think this next time we speak, next week, I'm going to do a little introduction about these two. You know, we want to do a little more and talk about them. But Capote's writing is so good. The introduction to the characters in the city, we just dive in. I agree. He puts us in the place, and even the way in which it was written. If you guys have ever visited the Midwest or Kansas specifically, these long plains, the beauty is striking, and it's interesting because like you feel that when he's describing the family and the home and the cluttered legacy and all of these beautiful things, and then you feel the opposite of it, the haunting expanse of this plain, the encroaching the pressure of like that sense of lack of people that you feel with Dick and Perry. He does such a fantastic job, I think, at playing those two sides against each other, so that when you finally get to that moment where we're like, they're finally in the house and we kind of know what happened, but tell us. Like, I think it's like super cool. As you can tell, I'm pretty jazzed about this book. Very detailed, so it paints a picture of a story really early on. The book is dark, but the writing is easy and light. That's a good way to put it. I agree. Details are so good. Descriptions let me imagine very well the situations in my mind. True, I felt like I moved to the town, but could still see it from above. I'm probably behind in comments, so sorry if I'm catching up. The details they got about the days before, wrote about it like they'd heard it from the family itself, the quotes and the emotion. In my mind, if I was shooting it, I felt like we were seeing snapshots, where it was like, poof, and you know, it's slow pushing, where the person's like, I don't know, it's just, they were fine. I saw them the day before. I don't know. And then next person was like, the Clutter family's a great family. I don't know why something like this could have happened. You know, and it felt like, going back to the comment earlier, like we were watching a true crime documentary. It literally felt like that. I feel like I entered the worst timing ever. Can I pin the book? Yes, I can. Remember, this is always hard. We're coming back. And I'm on my iPad, so that's why I'm typing sideways. So, look at that. Why do I type better like this than I do in real life? This is not Coyote, Capote. Oh, but if I do that real quick, it's gonna, let me catch up to the comments. To understand, is this book based on a real story? I feel like it is, but I don't have time to research. Yes! Oh, let's do this. Lorena Lost. This book is in fact based on a true story. It is the inception of the true crime novel. This was one of the first ones that kind of swept the nation, not only because I think of the brutality of this crime and how it kind of shook the foundation of the Midwest, the family-oriented, neighbors, and nicest people in the country vibe. This was a complete disturbance from that, and Capote felt, you know, this need to write about it. So yes, it is based on a true story for everyone that doesn't know. Next time we speak, I'll have more of that background for us. I wanted us to kind of enter this world and then kind of receive and grab that curiosity, and then now it'll drive us forward. I don't know why would someone want to murder innocent people? That is a very good question. Yeah, the description. Amy Lumsden, what's up? The description and the way everything is explained doesn't lack any details, which instantly pulls you in. I agree. I usually don't like knowing the outcome at the beginning, but it really works the story, right? Dick and Perry just go about their day, and we know what they're going to do. It's really creepy. I know there's a Shakespeare quote somewhere that'll kind of like illuminate this. I'm just gonna... Oh wow, we're on the film. Okay, I want to... Skipping comments. Sorry. I don't want to skip comments, so I'm going back up. We could do a watch party, that'd be sick. Eating so I can't type. Lexi, all good. Enjoy your food. I watched it at school, but I should definitely rewatch it. Yes, I watched it in college when I was studying more acting, so I want to watch it now from the other perspectives I have. Book is almost shocking. Please save the live. I will do my best. If Instagram doesn't hate me, it will be saved. Solid about Harper Lee. It was a bit hard to get into the beginning because the descriptions were long. Yes, but it's like, if you've ever driven through the Midwest, it's hours of the same. Just hours of flat introduction to the same space. And I feel like that's, in a way, part of what was bringing us into this space. Okay, so Harper Lee and Truman Capote, they grew up together, and this often considered sort of a sequel to her book, because her book was written in the, I believe we talked about it, the 50s. This was written in the late 50s, early 60s. So yeah, they're right on the backs of each other. That's amazing. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, I want to watch the movie too. We're going to do it. We'll talk about it. Interesting as a reader to read his level of detail and description. Torn, as sometimes as a reader, I like a little to be left to my imagination, but thinking of the level of... See, this is different. This is unlike other novels and books that we've written that it's coming from someone's imagination. This is a real thing. And while we are hearing it from the lens of Truman Capote, the storyteller, these are real places. These are real people. These are details. And I think, yeah, I feel like, man, without the sensationalism, that's a very, yes, that's awesome, yes. So intense knowing what was coming and how they were sort of tiptoeing around it, but not really. Terrifying, there's no motive or anything, just randomly right. Yes, based off a true story. Remember the details about the friendship, you know, yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to get down to the bottom. As a former reporter, this brought back things from several stories I've covered. Wow. Wendy, I apologize that you've had to cover things like this. But that's awesome that this brings back... This is an interesting place for you, this book. If you wouldn't mind sharing more experience, that'd be pretty cool. Of course, at your own discretion. It made you feel as if you were actually with the characters. Yes, I have friends on the list. No way! What do they know about this? Is this a tragedy that is still spoken about? Interesting to see their perspective. I googled, saw the Clutter House. It's still there, chilling. I've driven by the house in Amityville, the Amityville Horror House in Amityville, New York. I've driven by that house, and there are events that happen similar to this. There's like a feeling of reverence that overcomes the space. It's interesting. I like how he gives you so much of the Clutter background lives, and he only gives you he gives you so much about Dick and Perry. Yeah. Oh yeah, I googled a bit about the two killers as well, and then ended up down a very deep, dark hole regarding serial killers like Charles Manson. Yes, careful. I think I'll only Google about the story after I finish the book. That's a good way to do it, and then the film I think is pretty fun too. I don't remember a lot. That's why I'm excited to watch it again. I would love to sit down over coffee and pick his brain over his novels and how his whole process comes to life, right? If I'm right, which again we'll confirm next week, it took him years to write this novel, this book. It took him years, but I could be wrong. I found it interesting that the stigma of mental health issues was as prevalent and described here too. I have to agree. In the pseudo understanding that Mr. Clutter seemed to have with his wife, that it wasn't a spine thing. It's definitely one of the earliest instances in terms of years, like in the 50s, that I heard of mental health kind of being spoken about. And even though in that odd way where you can tell at the time I didn't understand that, but still interesting. But they still recognized postpartum depression, right? I think I said that correctly, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know when that was understood. I want to do more research about that now. The absolutely normal day the family had before the night is such a jarring shift. That was just any normal family's normal day, then that could have been anyone feel. And I feel like that is the most unsettling thing about it, is it feels as if this could happen to anyone. But I did read this was Capote's only really successful book. I think it was his most successful book, and that's why you could say it was, like, because all the other ones, I don't know if they came to the same level of, you know, being known. feel like what makes it so good is it's literally a true crime documentary, but written like a novel. I have to agree. I have a feeling that they were targeted because of what was the perceived wealth of the Clutters. That's what I would think. I mean, of course, now I'm like, the cool thing is I feel like I'm doing the thing that we do with real crime novels where we look at details on our own and we try to piece it together before the detectives do, or we're working with, you know? So I feel like the purse was open and tossed on the ground, the billfold, his wallet was open with IOU spread out. They were looking for money, and they thought he had a lot of it, but they weren't from Holcomb. And that's why multiple times, my idea is it was mentioned that he doesn't carry cash, and people in Holcomb know that. So I don't know, but that's where my mind is as Detective Alberto reading this novel, trying to be like, what's going on? How can we... plans, I know, heartbreaking the plans that they had. There does feel like a certain amount of compassion is shown to the killers, as though he wants you to know why they were who they were. And that's a very interesting shift, Lana, and I really think that's cool that you picked that up. When you look at, has anyone watched Mindhunter? In Mindhunter, there's a moment where Jonathan Groff's character and I can't remember the other gentleman, the other actor, I think it's fantastic. They're both talking about these killers. It's pretty much the study of serial killers and how the FBI started to really develop and understand that. But before, they were always described as monsters, and therefore humanity was able to label them as such. Black and devoid of humanity, therefore they were other. This book, what you've touched on, is recognizing that they're not. They're still humans, and in fact, those are the scariest monsters of all, because then it could be anyone. And that's what I think Capote did really well here. I have to agree. He's humanizing these monstrous people, keeping their humanity. Interesting. I'm excited to keep reading. I'm not such kind of books, but it was really well written. I have to agree. I didn't know it was going to be this brutal. And what a way to start the year, right? Whoa! Especially this week, if anyone's aware of what's happening in the US and the stress that everyone, personally I'm feeling, this book is not helping, but in a way it kind of is. I don't know. It's weird. The juxtaposed views from everyone help you to almost give you a view through each character's eyes. Yes, love that word, juxtaposed. Now I know it's a true story. I'm going to have to look it up. Look it up. I love how he put in brackets how to pronounce Arkansas. That amused me. Well, it's funny because I mess around with, I don't know if my friends know this about me. I purposefully say words incorrectly sometimes, both to hide the fact that often I've read words before I've heard them out loud, so I pronounce them wrong, and sometimes I do it just to kind of poke at people's understanding. That's not how you say that word. Like, who said it? Well, that word sounds made up. All words are made up. So, but this specifically to know, I didn't know that Arkansas River was actually supposed to be the Arkansas River in Arkansas. You know, crazy. That's right. I love true crime shows and documentaries. Honestly, I don't sleep well at night after, but I love it. Getting into the head of the killers and understanding how stuff happened, I don't know if that's weird. I think that curiosity is natural because it's so... Really, it's against... I think it's really against the brain right now, societally, everything we're taught, these types of crimes. And it's interesting to see how do they break that. We need to open a big part of the next discussion about the background story. And that's what we will have that discussion because, like, I wanted us to get introduced to kind of start that flame of curiosity. And now it's going to be really easy. Everyone has motive. I don't know. Does anyone happen to know the translation of the quote at the beginning? Yes! Can some of our French readers please tell us that? Because that would be awesome. Right? Also, you really get into the mind of serial killers from this book and how they think, or how they don't. I love how Truman Capote gives us hints as to what Dick and Perry are going to do. I haven't read a book in a while, and this was definitely the best start for me. Woo! I love anything related to crime stories, and nearly followed a career in criminology. Well, this is your book. We expect a lot from you. I'm kidding, but thank you for joining. That's awesome. IG, I agree. Don't mess around with us. I read somewhere that Capote got very invested in the trials of Dick and Perry and was even there when they were executed. In the film, we find that he actually was able to speak to them and interview them extensively. So he did get to know them as humans, and I think that's why we see such a humanized and sympathetic view towards them. But once again, we will talk about more of that later. It's no coincidence his writing and detailed narrative brings us into the story. After all, Harper Lee was part of this book too. I think that's also really awesome. That one of the things I love about being an artist is when you get to meet and hang out with other artists, whether or not in the same medium. Because they all flow into each other and inform each other, and artists themselves from different perspectives are doing a lot of the same things, telling these stories. So I think it's always cool to see how minds, I keep using that, but meld, how they mix, how they contradict, and I think it's super fun. And that's I'm going to talk about this for a sec. One of my favorite things about art is it's a conversation. I read somewhere that your art is never really discovered until you release it, and then there's the conversation that happens with it. And as an actor, a lot of that conversation is with the audience in those moments, how they're determining why your behavior's informing what you're doing, or what you're doing is informing your feeling. All of those questions that they're like, well, how would I do this? And then there are certain playwrights that write with the idea to put the audience in that position, where they're forced to have a conversation, not placidly escape. No, they want the audience to be engaged. And I think that's the really cool thing about art, is that conversation that can happen. I'm going to pin the book now, but it means I might fall back in comments. So everyone, I apologize. Ooh, can I just pin someone else's comment? I did it. If I did it, please let me know. I think I did it. Pin someone else's comment. Look at that, learning. Okay, somehow I feel a bit sorry for Perry. He seems to be such a twisted character. Curious to find out more. I don't know what Nightwalker is, but if you're saying yikes, that's kind of scaring me. I might not watch it for a while. Or during the day with a group of people when I can finally do that again. The first thing that really caught my eyes was the interreligious conflict between Nancy and Bobby. And it fascinates me that those conflicts are still existent to this day. I agree. As someone in law enforcement, it definitely felt like some cases I've seen, which makes it more interesting for me to see it from the outside. Wow, Odin's Raven. Cool. Yes. Any insight that you have from your profession that you can bring in for us, that would be very much welcomed, of course, at your discretion. So I think it would be really cool to see what other things you pick up on, things you might notice, insights you may have. Please share. I think that's awesome. Do y'all believe in ghost spirits? Absolutely. I am super superstitious. You know, not just a little stitious. So like, yeah, big time. I would not go near that house. Oh, the mom. I feel so bad for her. Postpartum. Thank you guys. Wow, I am way behind. They thought there was a say. Ooh, I don't want to read that. I don't want to read that. Would I play a detective? I would love to play a detective. I have a lot of fun playing a detective. You agree with me, Money? I agree. All right, I'm gonna scroll down a lot. Is that okay? Is that okay with everyone? I'm just gonna try to jump back into where we were. Mindhunter. Okay, cool. Just give me a second. I actually personally believe to kill others in cold blood, the killers must be suffering from mental health issues to make them do such things. And if they were given help earlier on, possibly. I think also it comes from a tremendous amount of trauma. I think to do something like that comes from trauma, or the scarier notion, maybe it didn't come from anything. Maybe they just did it. And that really freaks me out, because you like to think that in order for you, like as an actor, you ask yourself this question, like, in order for me to do this, what would have to happen to me, Alberto, before I can understand how Blake or Simon would do something? And that's the scariest thought, is to say, what if it was just because I wanted to one day? It could happen. I don't know, and that's something that I'm like, we all like to believe constantly that we're constantly driven by something, and I agree we are, but what if we're not? I don't know. Thoughts. How are we going to meet if Instagram gets shut down? Why would Instagram get shut down? For me, one of the most powerful parts was Willie J's description of being in a half-world, suspended between two superstructures, relevant in so many ways to the whole story and the world today. I usually have a problem with reading half pages at a time while I finish 15 pages in a day. Yes, it's a muscle. It's a muscle that we just practice. I will say I read this in very small chunks because I've been having a really hard time reading. Many of us might feel that way. In the US or otherwise, the world is in a scary place right now, or a place that isn't as comfortable as before. And I have personally found it very difficult to focus. So I was easier on myself. I read out loud for a lot of the first 20 pages while I let my brain start to kind of warm up into reading. And then I put it down when I was like, I'm pushing too hard. And then I picked it up again. So be kind to yourselves and be proud of yourselves when you accomplish awesome things like that. But be kind. There's a quote at the beginning in French. Yes. No entiendo nada, pero cool. Bueno, gracias por estar con nosotros. Estamos hablando sobre el libro Sangre Fría de Truman Capote. El parte número 1. Entonces, si quieres, puedes leer con nosotros. Y si quieres, escriba cosas en español. Y yo les puedo decir a todo el grupo. No te preocupes. We can absolutely talk about that sometime. I've noticed I need to stay away from it. When I'm done, give it some space. Yes. The quote from... Yes. Yes, Maddie. If you don't mind, jumping in. Wow. You don't have quotes in your English? I'm really engaged with the fantasy that Perry seems to create. I know he's the villain in the story, but there's something whimsical, quizzical. The two superstructures? It's almost as if he lives in a different reality. It's interesting. One second, I got a text from Tessa. I just want to give her a quick text back. Okay. The song Four Walls by Bastille is about this case. I didn't know that. I'll listen to it after. Maybe we'll play it together here. Eddie. Quote means, human brothers who live after us, do not have your hearts hardened against us. For if you take pity on us poor fellows, God will sooner have mercy on you. All translated on Rosende Reads after the live. Some words are from ancient Old French. Thank you, Maddie McCall, and thank you, Lana, for putting the quote here. If you put it on Rosende, if you tweet it, Maddie, I'll share that for everyone on Twitter. The smell of cigarette was mentioned a few times. I wonder if it means something. That was such a foreshadowing. I think now it was almost as if Nancy knew something was very wrong about to happen, but couldn't quite. Later on, I thought it was going to be revealed that one of them was like smoking outside, and it was like getting through whiffs of the house, but I guess not. It did suggest Evgeny Astrid? Anyway, yes, it was suggested that she was like, could it be my father? But the notion of that to her was so ridiculous, she immediately discounted it. She was like, no, he wouldn't do that. But yes, it was possible. But then I'm wondering if maybe he wasn't completely open with the family. What if the father was hiding some sort of financial woes that they didn't know about? But I doubt that. It doesn't seem like that a person. I don't know. Yikes, that just plays into the stigma surrounding mental health and disabilities, to be honest. People don't have to be ill to do terrible things. Thank you, Lexi. You want to rationalize it, but sometimes there isn't necessarily a reason, although it was premeditated. So if it's not, as if they just snapped. Right. I don't believe people kill just cause. This is a very interesting question. And when it comes into mental health, Lexi, please enlighten us. But yeah, it's just a fascinating idea. Like, whoa, what drives people? Do people always have to be driven? What? I don't know. I think it's really cool. Of course, I talked to Dom. Dom's one of my best friends. I talked to him a couple days ago. You read a book per day for the whole quarantine? You are a superhero. That is awesome. I agree. It was as if the beginning we were pushing a snowball to the top of this hill, and then at a certain point you just like slipped, and then it just rolled all the way down. Good for you, Tessa. Yes, I've been reading nonstop lately because it helped me get to the other worlds, but you've been in England in 1500. Wow. That's pretty cool. In my experience, something like this happens when it's a result of trauma. This felt like trauma-based mental health break. It felt like Perry just got pushed too far. Interesting. Cool. Please keep giving us those insights. Thank you. You're not too late? No, not at all. Wow, we only have like 25 minutes left. That was already pretty fast. Someone mentioned Nancy smelling smoke. Some people believe the smell of smoke is a sign of having psychic abilities. Well, that's really going to freak me out now. If I start smelling smoke randomly, I'm going to be like, am I psychic? What's about to happen? I'm going to lock all my doors and be up all night. Olfactory senses are a big deal, so the cigarettes and playing on olfactory memory is absolutely a form of foreshadowing. Thank you, Emily. I hope it's Sputnik. Sorry, I just like saying that one fast. Well, thank you. There have been so many studies into it. I'll dig a few out and send them your way. Please, thank you. That's awesome. When Capote talks, bring up the lawyer having to check the viability of the new policy. It makes you question how that can impact the murders and how we look for suspects. Whoa, didn't think about that. I'm on page 4 because I can't focus. Morgan, it's okay. I would say, for me, I read to Stella for the first 15 pages, and then she was like, I'm not into this. She walked away, but I was already hooked. So try reading out loud to a friend or to yourself, someone that's even sleeping or going to sleep. That often can help them. But reading out loud was one way because it forces you to focus on every single word. And then it kind of brings you in, and then eventually, if you're like me, you'll realize you stopped reading out loud. You just started reading. It makes me wonder so much about their pasts. Our psyche is both the sum of our experiences and also our response to them, and our coping, and even our brain chemistry and genetics. Brain chemistry is something that is crazy cool to me, and also very worrisome, because one change in that, and I don't know. I love that he set up this landscape as serene, peaceful, innocent, and that cuts through it with the 4 shotgun blasts that ended 6 human lives. Suddenly the writing style shifts. Yes, I actually underlined that specific line, because it felt like I heard the 4 shotgun blasts, hearing all this peaceful and delicate scenery, and then just these if any of you have ever, this is very American of me, but if any of you have ever shot a shotgun, or held one and seen someone shoot one, it is the most violent thing that happens that rapidly that I've ever experienced. The amount of power and the capability of violence that weapon has. I shot it once. was like, this is not for me. This is awful. Humans made this. Like, this thing about smoke freaks me out, I know. Are we all psychic? Or do we all just have, like, stoner neighbors? I don't know. Oh, Annie, I didn't know she smokes. I like that it makes you feel close, but she should stop. It's not good for her. Anyone want to know about the power of olfaction? Hit me up. Just finished the whole module on the olfactory sensories for canines. Except it applies to us too. Should we have like a live at some point just for Emily Hope Sputnik to like blow our minds about the olfactory senses? Because I'd be down. No worry, Anna Cat Fernandez. It'll be here. Yes, I heard those blasts exactly. Stop me in my tracks. Yes. Capote's style of alternating between the Clutters and Dick and Perry, seeing his family going about their daily lives and completely oblivious about what these strangers were doing, was intense. It was extremely, I'm going back to that word, unsettling. The insurance thing was strange. Plus that they chose to honor it despite not technically going through. I don't know if that would happen today. I feel like insurance companies now would not be that cool. But it's something that also freaks me out. Like when you get life insurance. Why? Why are you getting life insurance? And then it's almost like it makes me nervous. Is this an omen? Like I'm doing this because of some recently got life insurance. So that's why I'm like, whoa. Locking my doors and stuff. I don't know about a shotgun, but I felt it it's heavy, right? I thought they only killed 4, but there's more. Okay, I don't want to know more. I don't think everyone needs to shoot a weapon to know what it's capable of and what it's meant to do. It's not meant to have fun. It's not meant to be cool. It's a weapon. It's meant to kill people. It's not meant to harm them. It's meant to kill people. End of discussion. And that's why I'm very pro-gun laws. There's no reason to have a weapon other than with the desire to kill someone. That's what they're made for. Or hunting, which I recognize people still do. I don't agree with game hunting, where you just do things for fun. I don't think anyone has the right to take a life. That's me. Stoner neighbors in my case, for sure. I think I might. I've had a couple whiffs in the hallway where I'm like, that is that smell of smells. Love how Willie J describes Perry. You exist in a half-world, suspended between two superstructures, one self-expression and the other self-destruction. I wonder if that's just humanity as a whole, too. It felt greater than just him, than just Perry. We never got the live to learn about astrophysics! Honestly, because I feel like my head would spin. It almost shattered the presumed innocence of the town and its people that this evil could have snuck in and made such a massive impact. And I think, honestly, that's one of the most destructive things about it, is the lasting impact on the psychology of that town and the way they're going to feel about themselves and who they were, the pride they may not have anymore. I don't know. I'm in the UK. Most people take out life insurance with their mortgage. It's really normal here for most people to have life insurance. It is normal. It just still freaked me out. I was like, what? Why am I doing this right now? You know? I think the approach of putting take an actual event and narrate it in a fictional sort of way is very interesting. I agree, whereas the second one, and it doesn't make you wonder how numb, and doesn't it make you wonder how numb we've gotten towards the news and how much more of an impact fiction has on us than things that are actually happening? Also, I think of the time period where if things like this happened, you only found out about them if they were this bad. I don't know. But then there's that thing in a TV show once, they say every little town has its secrets. So who knows? Maddie McCall, thank you for being a badass and doing that for us. No very good reason. Please save the live. I was in the Navy I was the Navy in shots, hun, and did not like it. Yeah. I don't really understand the need for people in the U.S. to have guns in their homes. It just doesn't make sense to me. We could talk about that later, because like, the whole gun argument in the United States is a two-sided. I don't know. It gets very complicated. Being a soldier, I know the heavy responsibility, as do I. I remember asking my father, just being like, why don't we have, you're a soldier, why don't we have guns? He goes, we don't have guns because that's why I'm a soldier. So you don't need to have them in your home. The original idea for the Second Amendment was you think of the idea of what the American story is. Like, we felt tyrannized by the English government. We decided to remove ourselves from this tyranny and create our own nation. And one of those thought processes was to be able to defend ourselves should any government get too much power. I don't see what that has to do with registering your guns, insuring your guns, making sure that you have a license to operate said weapon, so that if anything should happen with that weapon out of the ordinary, we know exactly where to find you. And then at that point, with all that information, should the government want to take them, then we know it's a tyrannical, I don't know. Those arguments get very difficult. This is not what this live is about. So let's keep going into this book. A town where people didn't even lock their doors. They would now be suspicious of their neighbors. Yes, I feel so bad for that town. I agree, guns are illegal here in the UK. It always sounds horrifying when I hear stories of gun-related murder. I realize now that it said shotguns and not hun. That was funny. Small details like not feeling to lock doors is a good example of showing, not telling, the feel and culture of a town. And I think we've all been there. I've been to a few towns like that where people don't lock their doors. And it's very, growing up in bigger cities, you're kind of like, what are you doing? But it's a sense of safety that I guess, where didn't really, in Italy you need a license for a weapon and they don't give it to everyone. You have to take an exam first. Love that. Hello, my Hamlet, no one locks anything. Now I'm paranoid. In the UK, you can't get a gun for no reason without a license, mainly just farmers, which would make sense. I felt so bad for the girls who found Nancy. They were so traumatized. That got me. It would probably never get over something like that. No. You had 2 serial killers in your hometown? And it's a shock to the system. Growing up in Miami, in South Florida, and then I started watching Dexter, I was like, and then he's like, and in Miami, the homicide rate is like 20%. And I'm like, so if I die by homicide, you guys might not find my killer? Right? Let's see, how do you sleep? All right, so we are winding down. I don't know where I put my book. It's not resting here, right? Give me 1 second. I totally lost my book. It's not in that pile of books. It's not in this pile of books. It's not over there in that pile of books. Where is it? It was behind my iPad. These guys tried to break into my neighbor's back door when I just moved here, and I was the one to wake up the noise, and I've never been so scared in my life. Make me think about a town near mine. There are a lot of burglaries all of a sudden. Now the neighbors have put up a neighbors are watching sign to help each other. Yes. If I'm murdered and no one is caught, I just want it to be interesting and if I'm BuzzFeed unsolved. Feels almost sacrificial. I'm curious to see if there's a reason why. Poor Bobby, but it's logical. He's the prime suspect. He was the last one seen leaving the house. It makes sense, but I think he'll very easily be discredited as the, it won't be hard, but, there's something I wanted to comment on. Poor Bobby, though. Ugh. I feel like if something like that happened to me, I would snap. I would take them with me. Like, I'd be so mad. Why are the bodies staged in such a way? It seems like such an effort. I agree. And that's the weirdest thing. I don't know why. There are a lot of drug plantations around here. Two of my neighbors had them, and yet I've never felt unsafe. It's weird. Yeah. Hardest book I've ever read. It's too real for me. I'm sorry. It is. If you need to take a break, I totally understand as well. Yes, this book is very heavy. Maybe they wanted to use all the rope. Maybe. But the thing is, they were like very obvious in a lot of ways. I don't know. I feel like if I was ever to do crime, you shouldn't be dumb. You should be really smart. And I feel like a lot of times when you read about crimes, you're like, these guys are really dumb. But then again, I guess that's why they're committing crimes, or at least that's why we're reading about them. Because they got caught. We have about 10 minutes, so let's, I don't know, I feel like we can keep talking, but, unless they want to get caught. There we go. Praying Bonnie tucked into bed. Yeah. Yeah, part 2. We're going to do part 2. It's a little bit longer, but thank you. 10-minute warning. Got it. It's a little bit longer, but not by much. Is that okay with everyone? If we just read all of part 2 for next week. It is weird. It's weird to see me in shorts. I rarely wear shorts unless I'm home. So I agree. When I saw myself standing there, I was like, "Oh!" I was even caught off guard by my legs, which is funny. You know, I know some of you know. Like, I lost my grandparents recently, but I was talking to my mother. Not recently, a few months ago now, but it was a year ago. But and my grandfather always wore, you know, trousers, like khaki pants and khaki trousers and long sleeve button down shirts. He was a businessman. And to this day, I had to tell my mother, I was like, I never saw his arms and I've never seen his legs. I have no idea what they looked like. I don't even know if they were real. Never seen them. I don't even know if he had toes. Never saw him. So I think that's funny. So part 2, got it. Cool. Hey, Twinkle to Blue, trust me, part 1, if you catch up on your own pace, you'll love it. Oh, my friend Dave, who, I don't know if I've mentioned him before, him and I have that writing thing where we haven't been up to it yet lately, but he's been sending me songs he's written and stuff. He was part of my inspiration for Simon, because he writes music like that, and it's just super cool. Why I'm in shorts and I'm cold to wear a sweater? Because I love being cold. It's weird. I grew up hot in Florida. Oh, thank you, Tessa. Oh, thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. Do you have toes? Literally, though. I never saw his arms. Never saw his legs. It's just funny. Right? It's things we don't think about as children because we immortalize these people and we see them as these giant figures, but they're people. It's just funny, we forget. My father's so anti-tattoos. He probably has like an ex's name on his bum or something, like something he's just really embarrassed about. No, I'm kidding, but that'd be hilarious. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, live is really feeling like it's been a long one. Never seen my grandmother in a swimsuit? Nope. So yes, for next week we will read part 2. We will also have more of a discussion about the history and what this book, how it was written, why it was written, what the true story was. So everyone, I suggest to do your research. If anyone wants to share links with me on Twitter of cool articles they read or whatnot, I'll put them in the Rosende Reads so we can all swipe up and read the same stuff. So we're all going to be doing the same research. Now, some of you reached out to me about creating a Discord for us so that things like this can be shared and we can go back and forth. I will say I have a few apprehensions about letting everyone run wild with their conversations while I'm not there on Discord. So that's one of my apprehensions towards it, but I think it'd be a cool idea. So we're going to keep talking about that. But everyone, if you have, are there ebook versions? I guarantee you there are. This is a very famous novel. There's also a pretty decent audiobook that I've listened to a bit of. So check the Rosende Reads inbox. I will check the inbox. I will go into the I hate looking at the other ones that are like, do you want to accept these messages? Because I'm like, well, yeah, duh. So, okay, cool. Thank you, Housewife. You guys have a Rosende Reads Twitter chat without me? What? That's awesome. Annie, I think you just let everyone's secret out though. So yes, we'll talk about that next week. We'll have more information. This Discord seems like a cool idea. Crime Junkie podcast. Is there one on this crime? Because that would be cool. I've never used Discord. I use Discord. I've used it to play video games and stream with friends, and I have to say I really enjoy the platform. I really enjoy, and I think it makes that makes me so proud. I love that you guys. I love that everyone talks and has. My heart is full. That is wonderful. But I would like to be part. So let's see if we can get that Discord. But back to Discord. I think Discord is really cool. It makes it very easy to talk. The streaming is pretty awesome. So I think that would be pretty awesome. I'm enjoying my first Rosende Reads ever. Well, Charlie Rose, we welcome you. We welcome you wholeheartedly with wide open arms. I used it for my classes, which was different. I bet. I'm pretty much useless on social media. I've got basics, but I'm learning and I'm growing. But that's awesome. So keep that chat going without me. And we'll get the Discord going as well. That's pretty cool. It literally makes me so happy. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. So, I think this was a very, very cool discussion. Very awesome way to jump back in with a great book. So, for everyone that has been with us for multiple seasons, welcome back. Get ready for some fun. For everyone that's new, welcome. Get ready for some fun. As we said, part 2 for next week, around the same time, on Saturdays now instead of Sundays. And a lot of research. Let's do some research. Let's have some fun with this. This is going to be pretty cool for us to talk about. Again, anyone that's new, I'm sure everyone here would be more than helpful. If you want to find out past books, you can look on the Instagram or ask here. If you want to find out more information, if you want to just talk to other really dope people about some dope books, they're all in this chat. So dive right in. Thank you guys for this. Thank you all for this. Thank you all for an awesome start. I'm more inspired to keep going now, and it feels like this year is starting to make more sense. So, thank you. Now, as you perambulate through your normal lives, keep being curious. Keep questioning things. Keep growing. Keep evolving. Keep learning. And please, 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 now more than ever, continue to be positive forces of change in your communities. And maybe we can take a note from this book. Let's try to look for the humanity in people before we demonize. I think that's something cool we can take from this right now. Especially for those of us in the US looking towards this possibly tumultuous week of the inauguration. Humanity, it's there. All right.